In this unit, we will be learning several ways to express an equation of a line. In this video, we will be reviewing the slope-intercept form of a line. It's called slope-intercept because you can easily identify the slope and the y-intercept when a line is written in this form. M is our slope, and m will be a number. Slope is described as the steepness of a line. It can be calculated in a few different ways, but one way is thinking about how the y values change from one point to the next, and dividing that by how the x values changed. You could also describe this as the rise over the run. So slope tells us how we move up and down, divided by how we move left and right. B is our y-intercept. This is the y-coordinate of the point where a line crosses the y-axis or intercepts the y-axis. This will also be some number. In the equation, you will leave y and x as variables. These variables represent a pair of coordinates that exist on a particular line. This equation is written in slope-intercept form. The slope is the number that's multiplied by x. So in this case, the slope is 2. The y-intercept is the constant that's being added to the product of our slope and x. In the original formula, we have y equals mx plus b. So since the sign changed from a plus to a minus, that means that b is negative 4. So let's come up with a word problem to explain this equation. Let's say that you want to sell cookies. A roll of cookie dough costs $4, and you will charge $2 for every cookie you sell. So in this equation, x would be the number of cookies you sell. See how x is multiplied by 2, which is the price per cookie? Then y would have to be the amount of money you've made. So let's plug in values in our equation and come up with a pair of coordinates that will form our line. If you sell 0 cookies times $2 per cookie, and then taking away your initial expense of the $4 to buy the cookie dough, you're still out $4. So we represent that with a negative 4. When x is 0, y is negative 4. When you sell one cookie times $2 per cookie, then taking away your initial expense of $4, now you're only out $2. So we represent that with a negative 2. When x equals 1, y equals negative 2. If you sell 2 cookies, 2 times $2 per cookie is going to be $4, and then you have to subtract that initial expense. Now we've broke even. We're at 0. So when x equals 2, y equals 0. If you sell 3 cookies, 3 times $2 per cookie, that means you've made $6, and then you have to take away that initial expense of $4. So overall, you've made $2. We could continue this process of plugging in values for x to find the corresponding value for y, but since we already have 4 points, let's just plot them to see what our line looks like. So whenever you graph a line, you want to make sure that you add arrows on both ends of your line. In this case, if we were describing a word problem, it wouldn't make sense to have negative x values because that would mean we were selling negative amounts of cookies. But if you're just focusing on graphing the line, you should have arrows on both ends. So a simpler way to graph this line is just looking at our form of our line. We could start at our y-intercept as being negative 4. So that means that the point 0, negative 4 is on our line. Then, from that point, we can start graphing our next point using our slope. Since our slope is 2, we could write that as 2 over 1. That means our rise is 2 and our run is 1. So when our rise is 2, since it's a positive 2, we're going to move up 2 spaces and then to the right 1 space. And you can continue this pattern of moving up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1 to find the rest of your points that are on this line. So from now on, we're going to use this process when we're trying to graph our line of just identifying what our y-intercept is, plotting that first, and then using our slope to tell us how to move to get the next few points. For this problem, we don't have a value for b that is written in our equation, so that must mean that b is 0. This means that our line is crossing the y-axis at the point where y equals 0. Our slope is negative 3 over 4, so the negative 3 is our rise. Since it's negative, we're going to move down 3. Then our run is 4, so we move to the right 4 spaces. To plot our next point, we would have to go down 3 and to the right 4 again, but we don't have enough room, so we're going to work backwards. Instead of going down 3, we'll go up 3. and instead of going to the right 4, we'll go to the left 4. This is how we can get from the pink point we've already plotted and back up to our y-intercept. We know that these 2 points are part of our line already, and when you connect these, you can see what our line looks like. So we expect our third point to be somewhere up here, in line with the first 2. So plotting up 3 and to the left 4, we get this third point, which does extend the line that we've already created. This is a good visual check just to make sure that all your points are correct. So if you do run out of room and you have to plot your third point by going backwards, if you plot it and you don't end up having a single straight line, then you know you must have made a mistake and you have to go back and check your work. For this equation, our y-intercept is 4. This means that our line will be crossing the y-axis at the point where y equals 4. Then our slope is 1 over 4. So 1 is our rise, we're going to go up 1, and then 4 is our run, so we'll go to the right 4. And then when we run out of room, we're going to do the opposite. Instead of going up 1, we'll go down 1. Instead of going to the right 4, we'll go to the left 4. And then this is our line. Making sure you add arrows to both ends of your line, and that logically it makes sense. We have a line that's increasing from left to right because we have a positive slope. In this equation, -3 is our y-intercept, so that means our line will cross our y-axis where y is -3. Our slope is -1/2, so the -1 is our rise, that means we're going down 1, and 2 is our run, so we'll move to the right 2. When we run out of room, then we'll go and do the opposite. We're going to go up 1 instead of down 1, and then to the left 2 instead of to the right 2. And this is our line, making sure you add arrows to both ends. Logically, it makes sense that we have a line that's going down. Since we have a negative slope, our line should be decreasing from left to right. For this problem, we don't have a value for b that's written in our equation, so that must mean that b is 0. This means that our line will be crossing the y-axis at the point where y equals 0. Our slope is 2. We can rewrite this as 2 over 1. So our rise is 2, and we move up 2 spaces, and then our run is 1, so we move to the right 1. So then again, going up 2 to the right 1, and then we run out of room. So instead, we can go backwards. Instead of going up 2, we'll go down 2. Instead of going to the right 1, we'll go to the left 1. And this is our line. You can double check that you have the correct y-intercept and the correct slope, and logically it just makes sense that we have a line that's going up from left to right because we have a positive slope, so our line should be increasing.